What's going on, guys? Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net. Today, I'm doing a deep dive serve technique analysis on Joao Fonseca's serve technique. The reason is, a lot of people think he has a hitch in his serve technique and that it may be flawed. If you want to see a complete analysis and breakdown of his serve technique, stay tuned. It's coming up next. So before we jump into the analysis, I'm going to let his serve play twice in real time. Indian Wells footage here from Slow Mo Tennis's YouTube channel. Make sure you check them out and support them over there. And then again, and he's getting a lot of pop on his serve, so there's no issue with the speed on his serve. People have commented, is it hitchy? Does it have a hitch in it? Does it flow the way that it should? So let's check it out and let's break it down now. When I do this analysis, I like to try to do it from two angles if possible, and if we have the footage to work with. So again, Fonseca on the left here and also on the right side, just a little bit of an angle on this serve technique here. We notice a couple things, right? We see a ritual or routine in the beginning, like most servers do, where they bounce the ball a little bit before they bring the ball and racket together like this and get into this position here. We also notice in this position, right, his weight, his body weight is now leaning forward. Serve technique at this point has become pretty homogenized at this state of the game in 2025. So most people tend to serve in a very similar way as they do with forehands and backhands. They tend to use the same techniques or similar techniques on all strokes because the most efficient ways to do everything has sort of been discovered at this point. So again, he's in this position just in the front on both sides over here, body weight forward, but he started racket back like this, right? Just a little bit. Bounce the ball a couple times, has his meets out in front like this. Stance-wise, he's in a platform stance, so he's about shoulder width apart on both sides of the screen here and here, again, with that body weight forward. Has his body sideways and then meeting with the ball and racket there. Then he shifts his weight back. When he shifts back, he tends not to take the front shoe and the toe here and kind of point it up. A lot of players will kind of lift that toe up off the ground. He doesn't do that. He just shifts back into that position here. He does look a little bit stiff as he comes into this position right here, as he kind of waits and gets ready to go into his trophy position. It doesn't look as smooth as you would like to see, but that's just a kind of a small thing, right? So again, weight shifts back here, gets ready to toss the ball with the left hand here in the left arm. You can see that in this position right here, his left arm is completely straight and the arm is relatively relaxed. You can also see from this position, his back leg is bent when he shifts that weight from the front to the back, and it stays bent all the way through that weight transfer back. And then just from here, he goes to toss the ball. Couple keys when he tosses, just like most players on tour, left arm is completely straight when he releases the ball and tosses the ball. Another big key for everybody out there is he gets his back turned just a little bit towards the net. So he's really trying to coil his body, and he's going to try to uncoil in the contact. So again, really using the body to hit the serve and not just using his arms or other components by themselves, but efficient use of the body. So again, from here, left arm starts to go straight. Tosses. When he releases, couple things here, palm up to the sky. So pretty traditional like this. And then from that position right there, his arm will continue to lift up, palm up to the sky as he kind of goes into his trophy pose. Now, we'll get into his technique just a little bit as far as his take back. Well, you can see when he goes through this area right here, he has a little bit of a pause right into his trophy position. And this is kind of the criticism that people have had in his serve technique, right? So again, goes to toss. When he goes to toss, there's a moment here, a little bit of time, where his racket just basically stops moving in space. So it no longer continues to move. It has a little bit of like a hitch or a stop point in his serve technique. That's not typical on the tour these days. Most players tend to have motions where once this starts moving, it tends not to stop moving until, you follow through and you finish your shot. But he's got a situation here where his racket stops and pauses just for a moment right there, which will break the rhythm of the serve a little bit. But the question is, does it really affect the quality of his serve, and does it really matter that much? To show you the difference between this and kind of the flowy style, I'm actually going to go back in time about 4 years and show you Fonseca's serve from when he was a kid. So here's Fonseca's serve when he was younger. I'm going to let this play a couple times. This was about 4 years ago. See if you can see the difference in the technique. So again, here, about 14 years old. See if you see a difference in his serve technique there. Let it play one more time here real quick. There we go. Now let's go side by side to see the differences. All right, so again, over here on the left side of the screen, we've got young Fonseca, about 14 or 13 years old. Now we've got 18-year-old Joao Fonseca on this side of the screen. Again, I'll let this play once in real time, see if you can see the differences in the technique from when he was younger till now. And it's pretty significant. You can really see here, right? If you really keep your eyes on it, there's a pretty big difference. So again, if we go back here real quick, still bounces the ball the same, still leans his body weight forward, does all the key technical checkpoints that you see with really good servers. Body weight's forward here, stance, pretty much the exact same thing. But old Fonseca versus new Fonseca, right? Huge difference with the younger version versus the current version of Joao. So what we see here on the right, racket is more in this Andy Roddick style, more of an abbreviated service take back. On the left, he's got the old school long, flowy motion, which we see with a lot of people these days. So there must have come a point in his serve development where they decided to make a pretty big change in his serve technique. Because again, from this position here, we can see massive delay in where that racket is. Everything else looks pretty similar for the most part, but massive delay in the position of the racket here from old Fonseca when he was younger compared to the newer version here, which resembles a little bit more of an Andy Roddick style serve technique. So let's go back to the side by side now of his current technique. So really important to remember, we know he can do that delayed leg style serve technique. Why that change happened, I have no clue, but he is serving very well. And I'm going to show you why I don't think that little hitch or delay in his serve technique is such a big deal at this stage of his career. So just again, from this position right here, guys, we can see he goes into a trophy or loaded position. We don't have a true side angle here on the right. I wish we did have a really good side angle here. From this position right here, we can see he kind of gets into this bow and arrow body position, hip bowed out, that really strong stretch in the upper body, just like this. His racket is on the right side of his body. And to me, the big reason he's able to overcome this little bit of a delay in his serve is what he's about to do next. So we're going to come from this position right here. When we get into this loaded trophy position, we want to see the heels of both shoes off the ground just like this. Back foot will typically be more off the ground with the heel. Then the front foot when we get into this position. So that's very normal. From this position right here, the chest will typically face the sky or point a little bit up as we get into this position right here. So he hits this position really well. And just from that position here, he has a really nice racket drop. The tip of his racket gets down, to about the glute area. So he gets a nice racket drop. And this is where he really gets his big juice on his first serve. It's in his flared out position right here. So most servers do not get in a position where the tip of their racket right here gets outside of their hitting hand and elbow, okay? Especially the elbow right here. The tip of his racket is well outside of his hitting elbow. It gets into this flared out position. Andy Roddick did this, Milos Raonic did this, but servers that tend to get into this position with this flared out tip of the racket outside of your elbow tend to serve bombs on their serve. And even though, again, he has this tiny hitch in his service motion, he makes up for it by having this outside position here with the racket flared outside of the elbow. Everyone I've ever seen achieve this position typically has a very big serve. So that's something to look for with big servers. But again, just here like this, elbow pointed up, gets the tip of his racket outside of that elbow there. And then just from that position, he gets into a very good solid contact position. Things we're looking for at contact from any good serve. Right shoulder obviously is going to be higher than the left shoulder is at contact. Hips, belly button, shoulders will all be facing the net and now are forward, right? And we started from a position where everything was a little more sideways and we were showing our back to the net, but we've got to uncoil and turn everything and then get up into contact right here. His contact point, pretty close or typical to most servers. The ball is roughly above the hitting shoulder. It's very close for him. That's where we're typically going to get the most power on the serve, is where we have the natural throwing motion just like this. And then on the right side of the screen, we also see, again, contact well in front of the court, really getting inside the court. You can also see at contact here as well, the racket is not fully in a straight line. It's a little bit more off to the left, just like this at contact. And then from that position, we see a little bit of pronation as that racket and strings turn out to the right just a little bit on both sides of the screen. Harder to see with the footage over on the right. And then as he finishes here, left foot is going to hit the court and land inside the court first, and the right foot will kick back to help with balance and then getting ready for recovery for the next shot. But the big question is, does this pause in the Fonseca serve really affect the quality in miles per hour of his serve? And I'm going to say at this point, it does not. Okay. Could it be a little smoother and flow through a little bit more? It certainly could. But getting into this flared out racket position here, which not everybody does, allows him to get big heat on the serve and still really pound his serve. And when we looked at the footage of him when he was younger, he had the longer leg style serve on his serve. So he could definitely go back to that, I think, pretty easily. But it seems pretty clear at some point he copied a little bit more of an abbreviated Andy Roddick style service motion versus the leg style that Sampras used. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this deep dive serve technique analysis on Joao Fonseca's serve. If you found this video helpful or you feel like you learned something today, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Jason Frausto for tennisunleashed.net. I'll see you next time.